People, welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV, back with another live stream, and it's Friday. Special guest in the building, Dan Potts, football's 12th man, and finally, bro, we can have a positive show with some good results. You know, it's a bit rosier in the garden, man. How's things, bro?
Bro, it's a pleasure to watch Arsenal, and I never thought I'd say that in October and September. Again, bro, it's do you know what? It's nice to actually talk because me and you get told we're negative. So hopefully today we won't be that negative, bro. So yeah, pleasure to be on again, mate. And last week there wasn't much to talk about. Now there is. So let's get into it, man. Looking forward to it, bro.
Let's get into it, man. And Dan's channel's pinned in the title, so make sure you click on it. Let's get him to 30K, hopefully by Christmas. Big up to everyone in the comments as well. We've got lots to talk about. RSPB said he's just become an uncle. Big up to you, bro. And obviously, we got West Ham this weekend. Before we look ahead, and we'll talk transfers as well, there's a lot of stuff going on. I saw a bit of the show that you just did. Just looking back on the last two games, because I don't think we've done a show since these two. Start with, just briefly, with the Forest game. I went to that game as well. Was you at that game?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was a really good performance. What did you think about the Forest game?
I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. When I was in the concourse, I really was negative because I saw the team news come out, and I was like, "Oh my god, we got Jesus, we got Marino in midfield." I think there was Partey. There was no Partey or Rice, was there, or something? I was thinking, "Wow, Jorginho and Marino in midfield." I was like, "No, this ain't gonna be a good day." And I thought we were electric, bruv. But do you know what I will say, Curtis? Right, this game in particular, and the Sporting Lisbon game, it's that right-hand side that's impressed me the most. And I don't think it's just Martin Ødegaard. I think we have to start mentioning Timber now because I think he is unbelievable, mate. I think we've got a brilliant player on our hands here. And I don't think people have spoken about it enough that not just how we missed him last season with the injury, but since he's come in, he's been really good at left back. But I think he is elite level at right back. Like, I just think he's better than Ben White. I think everything I see in him is mustard. The athleticism, the carrying of the ball. I know that Ben White overlaps, but Timber does it with the ball. He actually is like, he's not afraid to put a cross in. He created one of the goals at midweek. I just think he's a top talent, mate. And I don't think we've kind of spoken about him enough, if I'm honest with you. I think he's been so good. And he just complements that right-hand side. And I think it's gone from a good right-hand side to a very, very good one. And I think Ødegaard and Saka on top of that, the partnership they had was superb. And I think in both games, we kind of won the game in the first half, if I'm honest. You could see straight away that we were on top and dominant from minute one. I've been really, really impressed with him, but particularly with Timber. And I think what Martin Ødegaard has done is he's complemented everybody else around him. So everybody else has kind of got better because Martin Ødegaard's back in the side. I look at Partey, for example. I mean, I was just talking about him, and I'm sure we'll mention him in a bit. I think he's been brilliant, mate. And I looked at him against Sporting, and he was actually like balling out and popping it round players and stuff. And I'm thinking, wow, we've gone to a new level. So I don't think it is as simple as just bringing Martin Ødegaard back and now we're good. I think there's more than that. And I do think this right-hand side is elite. Now, what we have to do is try and pick up this left-hand side and make it as best as we can and close as we can to the right-hand side. Because as much as I think it is improving, and I think it will continue to improve, that right-hand side is just so good at the moment to watch, Curtis. It really is, man. So that's what I thought of that game.
I think you make a great point. I actually said it, not on yesterday's show, the day before. I think Timber could be the best right-back we've had since Lauren.
100%.
You know, and I do rate Bakary Sagna was decent, but I don't think he had the quality that Timber's got on the ball. You know, he's 23 years of age. I mean, it's unbelievable how good he could actually become. And listen, when you compliment someone, people think you're disrespecting someone else. Ben White has been very good for Arsenal and he's been solid. But I think people have to understand Ben White's a natural centre-back. Doesn't seem to have the same engine as Timber. And I think Timber's got maybe a little bit more quality on the ball. So, listen, Ben White's going to have a fight on his hands when he comes back from injury, but that's only a positive thing for us, to be honest. And you're right with Partey. I think Partey 2 months ago, I was thinking he's done and dusted. He can't move. He was giving the ball away. And then now you're like you said, he's flicking the ball around the corner. It looks like the guy that we signed from Atletico Madrid. So it's interesting, always interesting when a player's in the final year of his deal and he hits form. You think, I hope this isn't just new contract hype, but he is playing really well. Just briefly about the Sporting Lisbon game then. I mean, I think you'd say, along with PSG, that's the best Champions League performance of the season. I did say before the game I thought we'd beat them because their three at the back I just thought would encourage our wingers too much, but I never expected a 5-1 win. How did you see the game? And also, how did you see Gyökeres' performance? Because he's got a lot of criticism from Arsenal fans for that performance, but I still think I saw enough in that game to make me think, imagine what would happen if you put him in our team. Because to be honest, I haven't seen anybody turn Saliba like he turned him and run away from him, go past Kivior and hit the post. So how did you view the performance, and what did it change your mind with Gyökeres?
Yeah, the performance itself, I predicted a 1-1 because I just felt it was going to be really difficult to go there and win. And the reason I said that wasn't because I didn't like the way we were playing. It was because our record away from home is shambolic in Europe. And if I'm honest with you, under Mikel Arteta, has been the worst it's been in a long time. I mean, we haven't scored a goal in the last 4 away games until then. And we've lost them all other than Atalanta, where we drew 0-0. So I wasn't very confident, if I'm honest with you. I think it was justified not to be. What I will say is that's not just our best performance in the Champions League this season. That's our best performance away from home in Europe since 2006 at the Bernabeu, in my opinion. I thought we were phenomenal, mate. Wow. And there's only really the San Siro and Bernabeu that I can look back at till 2003 when we went unbeaten and we won 5-1. Yeah. Real Madrid with Henry's 1-0. Other than that, I can't think of another European away night where we've dominated like that so well. I thought it was incredible, mate. I thought we were so good. I thought defensively, Saliba and Gabriel ate Gyökeres up, which I'll come back to in a minute. I thought Partey was brilliant. I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch. Timber again, absolutely electric. And Ødegaard and Saka, I think in the first half, just dominated down that right-hand side and basically killed the game off. And look, there's a player I really like for them, and it isn't Gyökeres. I actually like him as well, but I really like Diamonde, but I thought he was awful. I thought he was an absolute shocker. And that's a player that I've rated highly as an absolute monster of a defender, like a Kanate, Saliba level style, but he got absolutely eaten up. And I thought even our left-hand side started to improve a bit. I mean, I'm still not sure that Calafiori, Rice and Martinelli were the best players on the pitch, but we certainly started to see now that we've got a little bit of kind of sustainability there and stability with those three on the left-hand side. And hopefully that continues. I thought we were electric, mate. I really did. And, you know, even the players that we're bringing on were superb. So, look, Gyökeres, let's talk about it. When Haaland got eaten up in home and away game against Gabriel and Saliba, was anyone saying, oh, I don't want him, he's rubbish? No, you take Haaland tomorrow because he's a goal scorer, right? I'm in the same bracket with Gyökeres. I didn't think he had the best of games. I didn't think that Sporting were really playing to his attributes or his strengths, if I'm honest at all. In fact, I don't even see them lump it up to him once or twice, zero, let alone once or twice. But when he did get the ball, you saw the quality that he had. He never gave up. He never said die attitude. And when Gabriel got that knock and Kivior come on, what happened? Straight away, he turns our defence and he hits the post. He's got quality. There's no doubt about it. You don't do what he's doing. And unfortunately, Curtis, there's a lot of section of the fan base that are very, very split yet again. We're good at doing this at Arsenal, aren't we? We have one section of the fan base that thinks he's quality still, and I have to say I'm still in that bracket. We have another section that thinks he's a championship striker. It's just a worry when you look at that. And a big up to Julian, but I don't know what he's been watching out there. Maybe the smoke was getting in his eyes or something. Because I didn't think he was bad at all. I didn't think he was. I didn't think he was outstanding by any means. But I thought Gabriel and Saliba were more complimented than Gyökeres. I thought that was a compliment to both of our centre backs, right? Look, I don't think you can win on this Gyökeres battle either, because I said a couple of years ago, I quite like that Coventry striker who scored 29 in the Championship. And everyone rolls their eyes. Championship. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It's Championship. Coventry. Calm down. Okay, cool. He then goes to Portugal. Oh, my God. It's a Farmers League. I know he scored 30 goals, but it's a Farmers League. Well, no one else over there is doing what he's doing, but apparently it's a Farmers League and everyone does it over there. Then he does it for Sweden. Oh, it's easy. It's against Azerbaijan and you know, Moldova and all these guys. That's easy. Don't get carried away. And then he does it in the Champions League. Oh, it's only tap-ins and penalties. It's like, hang on a minute. This guy's just good. He's scoring. He's on fire. He's delivering. Why can't we just say he's a decent player? And if you don't think he's good for Arsenal, that's cool. I've not got anything against that. If you want Isak instead, cool. Fine by me. But Gyökeres is available. He's got a release clause, and he's probably the most likely to move in January. So we should be all over this now. And I thought the performance was actually still quite good. I didn't look at Gyökeres once and think, oh, my God, he can't control it. He looks like a bozo. He doesn't look a threat. When he gets the ball, everyone's just pushing him off of it. It was none of that. It was actually, he weren't getting much help, but he was doing what he can. He never gave up. He nearly scored against us still, even though he weren't that great. He scored a hat-trick against Manchester City. He's a player that I rate, so I would still 100% have him, man. 100%.
Yeah, you made some great points there. I mean, I just want to say that listen, a lot of people want Isak over Gyökeres, but we might not be able to get Isak. There's no release clause. There's 3.5 years on his deal. They're the richest owners in world football. So all this, thing now that we're going to go big for Isak in the summer, I don't really see on what basis we get him out of the door at Newcastle unless he's desperately trying to get out, which he said in interviews he won't do that. So people saying no to Gyökeres, get Isak, you probably end up with neither one of them if you do that, because we've seen Arsenal do this before. We'll end up with Seska. I would rather get Gyökeres because there's a release clause. You get it done. Obviously, there's going to be a battle to get him, but listen, that performance didn't really change my mind on him. I think 90% of the games in the Premier League, you're not going to play against two centre-backs as good as those two unless you're playing maybe Konate and Van Dijk. I think he'd score a hell of a lot of goals at Arsenal. And like you said, Gabriel and Saliba had to concentrate the whole 90 minutes. Yeah, that wasn't no easy game. And like you said, Kivior came on, he got roasted. So I would still go and get him. I think he'd do well. Just quickly, Master of Disaster made a great point there. Do you think Arsenal's left-hand side is never as good as our right-hand side because our left-back inverts? Whereas on the right back overlaps Saka, which will help him and create space for him.
I think it's a great point, and it's something I've not thought about before. The reason I would disagree with it, though, is because our left-hand side has chopped and changed so much that I don't think there's ever been a stability there that allows us to flourish. Because on the left wing, for example, Arteta still wants one. He's playing he's playing Martinelli, and then he's playing Trossard. At the left 8 position, if you look at last season, Curtis, we had so many of them. Like Smith Rowe played there, Vieira played there, Trossard played there, Havertz started there, Rice played there. That's 5 straight away. And then you look at the left back last season: Zinchenko, Timber, Tomiyasu, Kivior, like even Tierney when he started there. I feel like there's 2 positions, left 8 and left back, that we've never quite found a replacement for, or he's never been quite happy with who he wanted there. The only 2 players that I could see that were playing more than a few games there were Tierney and Xhaka. That's it. Zinchenko when he inverted, but even last season he had problems in the last couple of years injury-wise. Tomiyasu is injury-prone. He had Timber out with an ACL. We've had a lot of players, haven't we? I was just speaking about it on my show. Kivior's now linked with a move away. We've actually got 10 defenders on the book if you count everybody, right, including Tavares and Tierney. But Tavares will be gone. Tierney probably will be gone. Zinchenko's got injury problems and might be gone, and the future's up in the air. Kivior's future's up in the air. Tomiyasu's future's up in the air. So now we've got 5 players potentially leaving Arsenal, which leaves the other 5 that we all want to keep in White, Timber, Gabriel, Saliba and Calafiori. But we might have to go and buy 3 or 4 more bloody defenders in the summer if this carries on. And I don't want to be buying more defenders. So I think to answer the question, the left-hand side has not been able to have any form of stability and togetherness. And that's probably the excuses I've given to Martinelli. And maybe I shouldn't have done that because it is quite biased to me because I like Martinelli. But actually, when you've got Saka, who I think is better than Martinelli, but when he's got the right-hand side and he knows what it is every week, he knows it's Saliba and Ben White and Odegaard and himself. He knows that every single week. With the left-hand side, Martinelli's or Trossard is rocking up on that left wing and thinking, who's playing next to me? Oh, it's a different number 9 today. Oh, and it's a different 8. Oh, blimey, I've got a different left-back behind me as well. There's no real sustainability there, is there? Other than Gabriel at the left side of the centre-back, I've seen a different left-back, left 8 and striker at Arsenal for most of the last 3 years. Because even the 9's sometimes been Trossard or Jesus or Havertz. Now, I understand you're going to get injuries and you need to have a squad, you need to chop and change it. But when you're chopping the whole of that side so much, even now we're still different now. Calafiori and Marino are now there, instead of what we've had before. So Martinelli's now thinking, blimey, I've got Marino and Calafiori behind me now. What's going on here? So I know they're professionals and they should be able to play with anyone. And it's not the same excuse over certain areas of the pitch. But I think that's why I've given Gabriel so much credit, because he's the only one that stayed there in that position for the majority of the last 3 seasons and hasn't let his form dip. Whereas some of the other players have really struggled to get a run in the team or stay in that position because of what is chopping and changing around them. So that's probably the best way that I'd answer that left-hand side, mate. I'd like to see now Calafiori at left-back, Marino or Rice in the 8 and Martinelli in the left wing and just keep it there for a few games and see if they can gel. That's what I want to see, Curtis.
Yeah, I mean, it is a good point. I think with Martinelli, I mean, I used to make that excuse for Martinelli a lot. You know, the fullback doesn't overlap, the left 8 ain't there. Because you saw with the Xhaka Zinchenko season, he did really well. And I'm a fan of Martinelli, but I've had to even move that excuse a little bit from him and say, listen, I see you on the ball enough times one-on-one with the right back. That's got nothing to do with the left back or the left 8. That's just your general ability to go past the fullback. And at times, he just looks senseless. Now, I do think over the last few weeks, we've seen better performances from him, building block performances, if you like. But depending on the way he finishes this season, I do think that left wing position is an area that Arsenal are going to need to strengthen. But like you said, with so many defenders that might need to go as well, Neto being on loan as the second choice keeper, it wouldn't surprise you if Arsenal go and buy another left back and go and buy another goalkeeper, because we're probably going to have to get rid of a lot of them. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Let me just read these 2 super chats. James said, big up the man then. Big up to you, James. And Brian says, man are signing out Melvin from the Renaissance, man. There. Fair enough. Fair enough. Anyway, we'll talk about the transfer news. I know you was delving into it on your show as well. Why Always Me said, is it not possible that Martinelli, Trossard, Jesus, Sterling don't play well on the left? Last 2 games, Odegaard was on the left-hand side a few times. It was better. I mean, I would say Sterling, the majority of his career has been on the left. Martinelli's pretty much always been on the left. Jesus, Trossard, I don't know. I actually think Trossard might be better central. But anyway, let's talk about this guy. I know you was talking about him, but I wanted to get your thoughts. I mean, you know, anytime I see a transfer story for January, if it's not a striker or maybe a left winger, I'm just not happy with it. Like, I'm not really bothered who it is at the moment. Without sounding, I'm just like, he's a good player. I've read the story. They're saying that Arsenal might actually need to buy British players because we allowed Ramsdale and Nketiah and Smith Rowe and Reece Nelson to go, that we might be short on, you know, you got to have so many English players in your squad, which is why they promoted Skelly and Ethan Nwaneri. He had a brilliant season last year. This season he's not as good, but Palace in general are struggling. What do you make about this? If there was any truth in this, and Arsenal were to go and pay 54 million for him in January, what would your reaction be to it? How good do you think he is, and would you be happy with this sign?
I think if we got him in January and spent 54 million pounds on him and we still don't get a number 9, I'm going to kick off. I'm going to kick off. Well, you're going to be hearing me. Everyone's going to be moaning. Dan's negative again, and I think I'd have a right to be, mate. Look, I quite like Adam Wharton. I think he's got potential to be a very good player, and at 20 years old, he can be whatever he wants to be. Right? He's got the world at his feet. He's definitely a highly rated, talented player. He's not had the best of seasons, but neither have Palace. He's not been the same since his injury with England, I think it was, where he got crocked, and he's come back, and Palace have struggled to get any consistency out of him. But he's another 6. And we've already got Zinchenko, Partey, Jorginho, and Rice that all play in the 6. This guy doesn't play box to box, from what I can understand. He's not an 8. He's a 6. So if Partey and Jorginho go in the summer, I can understand why we might want this guy. But if we're going to be bringing him in January to add to Rice, Partey, and Jorginho, this just makes no sense, in my opinion. Now, it might be that there's potential for people are saying in the comment about my audio, by the way. Apologies. My audio, I did say to Curtis, is really bad the last couple of days. I don't quite know what's going on. So, yeah, my mic is not working and my laptop one is awful. So, apologies, people. But, yeah, I'm in a position at the moment in January where I'm kind of wondering whether this is the right move, Curtis, if I'm honest. And I think that, look, I've got nothing against going for a player like that who has quality if it is just Declan Rice that we've got at the club. Yeah. But we need to look at the futures of Partey and Jorginho. So if this was a summer move, I think it would make more sense, bruv. I think it would. But at January, I'd be stunned if he comes in at January. We slapped 54 million pounds on Adam Wharton. I mean, if we do that, I hope we're going and putting another 65 on Gyökeres on top of that. Do you know what I mean? So don't mind bringing both of them in. But if we're going to be spending the majority of our money on another 6, I'm a bit worried. Arteta's coming. Hasn't Arteta made these comments about how he's still not happy with the midfield 6 and he doesn't quite know what it... I'm worried, mate. Like, he's had Partey, Jorginho, and Rice, and he's still not happy with the 6. Like, how many bloody 6s does he need at the club then? Because he's still not happy with our left back, and he's had 9 of them. He's still not sure about our goalkeeper. He's had 9 of them, and we're now going to our 6th bloody number 6, and he's still not happy with them. Like, I don't quite get why we need to sort our midfield out, but I don't know that we need to do it this January. I think we need to look in the summer and say, right, is Partey staying? Is Jorginho staying? Where's Rice playing? Marino's our 8 now. You know, all these questions need to be answered before we go and get someone else in January that we spent a hell of a lot of money for. And I don't even think Palace would accept 54 million. From what I'm speaking to one of my Palace mates, they want closer to like 80 to 100 for this lad. So I don't know, man. I think we could probably look to get cheaper and better. I just don't know if I need to be looking at us slapping down £60 million on a number 6 where we need a striker.
Yeah, I mean, listen, first of all, it could be made up paper talk, so we don't go too mad. But for me, if this deal happened in January, I would be fuming. I'm sorry. I think he's a decent player. I do think there's a lot of potential there. But Adam Wharton's not coming in and getting us over the finish line. Like, this is a signing. Like you said, if you've bought your 3 main signings in the summer and you think there's a bit of money left, let's get a young player that's got a lot of potential, maybe a long-term replacement for Jorginho or whatever, or Partey, no problem. In January, where you're looking for somebody to come in and make an instant impact, not a chance. Like, you can get Osimhen at 65. You can get Gyökeres at 80. In positions that we're desperate for, and you're going to potentially spend 54 million on a midfielder who's had 18 months in the Premier League. He was at Blackburn in the Championship 18 months ago. I don't want anything to do with this signing in January. Seriously, I don't want nothing to do. When I saw this, I said, "Nah, please, not this." It would be so typical of Arsenal that we're crying out for a striker and we go and buy another number 6 when we've got. He's clearly not happy with Rice in the 6 because he's doing everything to get him in the 8.
Why do you think that is, though, bro? Because like Partey's been brilliant there, but Rice is a 6 for me. I don't look at Rice, right, Curtis, and think he could be our Gerrard. He could be our Fabregas. I look at Rice and I think he could be our Rodri or our Michael Carrick of old or whatever. I don't look at Rice in that way, and I don't think he's playing well in the 8. I know he was a bit better against Lisbon, but I just don't think I want to be seeing Rice in that position. I think we've spent 105 million on a 6 and we're playing him in the 8. Do you know what I mean?
and he's not very good in the 8. Let's be honest. No. You know what? I wonder if you look at when we bought Rice at the beginning of last season, Partey was having a lot of injuries at the time. And listen, we're not going to go into detail, but we know the stories that were going around about Partey at the time. I wonder if they thought Partey was done and dusted, and they thought Rice will be the 6. You know, long term, people were even talking about future captain. Then all of a sudden, Partey comes back from injury. There was talk of him going in the summer. Now Partey looks like a beast again in midfield. And actually, Partey's probably better on the ball than Declan Rice at receiving it. And I think all of a sudden he sat there and he's gone, boy, Partey's come back to life. And he's actually better in the 6 than Rice. What do I do with Rice now? I don't need 2 number 6s. So I got to squeeze him in the 8 role just to get him in the team, but he's not great in the 8 role. So I think Arteta's almost played himself into a corner where it's like, I've got to put Rice in the team because the owners are going to say £105 million player on the bench. What's going on here? So I'm not sure with him. There's even rumours saying we want Zubimendi again. Like, we've been linked with that guy so many times as well. So
I'd rather have Zubimendi than Wharton, if I'm honest with you, because Zubimendi's ready now. Wharton's not. And I agree with you about Partey. He is a better 6 than Rice, but we've spent 105 million on a new 6. It's just unfortunate now that Partey's now come back to life, and we've now got 2 brilliant 6s that we need to then work out which one we're going to play. The problem is you've got to play Rice or Partey in the 6 and then Marino in the 8. That's what I think we've got to do, because he's brought Marino in to be the Granit Xhaka replacement, and he is the best 8 at the club. Then you've got Ødegaard, who's obviously the best attacking midfielder at the club. You have to decide on one of Rice and Partey. And if Partey's the guy at the moment, then Declan Rice has to come out at the moment, in my opinion, and Marino playing that 8. But Rice has been okay in the 8 as well. It's very hard, but I just don't think he's an 8, bro. I just really don't. That's the way I see it. And I think that there's definite games I've seen Rice have that where he's pretty good in that 8. But let's be real, bro. It was against teams like Burnley where we were winning 5 or 6-0 and Sheffield United 5-0 last season. When he has actually played his best football, it was in the 6. And I think when he started there last year, I think for the first 12 games, he got about 8 or 9 player of the matches for Arsenal there.
Yeah.
So like, let's just be real. Keep him in the 6. I don't know what we're doing there. I think we've really messed around with our midfield. And I think it's cost us massively this season, our midfield department. I think it's been awful. I think like look at the attack and we haven't been scoring. But why do you think that is? Because the midfield has not done its job at all. It's been pointless. So yeah, I think there's an issue, man. I really do.
I honestly thinking, and I think Arteta's sitting there at the moment thinking, I want to play Partey and Marino. He hasn't signed Marino for no reason. Like he's at Sociedad, they were in Europe. You know, he's dragged him over to say, you're going to play for me in that Gyökeres. I think he's compromised right now thinking, I've got to play Rice because the owners and the moment he drops Rice, and I mean drops him for a few games, Arteta's actually going to get a lot of heat from people going, what, you spent 105 million and you've dropped him? Like, you can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's where he kind of wants to play Partey in the 6, Marino in the 8, and let Odegaard do his thing. But it's a tricky one.
His future actually is Rice, Marino, Odegaard. That's what I think his future is. But at the moment, Partey's been so good. So you have to decide whether to say, look, Partey, you have been great, but we're going to try and recover you a bit because, your injuries ain't been good. Or you put him at bloody right back, which is what he's done for some of the games. I mean, we can't do that now with Timber there. So for me, I think you have to make a decision. Do you play Partey because he's been so good? Or do you play Rice and then put Marino and Odegaard in? I mean, it might even be Rice, Marino, Odegaard tomorrow. I think it will be Partey, Rice and Odegaard, but you never know. So, look, I think it's a problem for Mikel Arteta at the moment, and the board will be looking at that thinking, so you spent 105 million and you don't know where to put this lad. Like, what's that about? That's mad, isn't it? It's mad.
Yeah. I also think as well, the last couple of years we've been very attacking. The ball got moved quicker. I think this year we're a bit slower in our build-up, which actually puts more pressure on Rice to get on the ball. And I think that, again, puts pressure on him. I think he's better when you play a quicker game. But I think he'll definitely start tomorrow because, that game obviously means a lot to Declan Rice. So I can't see him leaving him out. But listen, I suppose it's a good problem to have. A couple of years ago or over the years, well, oh my God, we need a 6 to play with Cazorla or Fabregas, Flamini or Coquelin. We're now talking about Declan Rice and Thomas Partey. I don't mind having that problem.
Yeah,
I wish we had that problem up front as well. You know what I mean? We play Gyökeres or Isak, I don't know, but it's interesting. LB said, why can't we swap Kivior for Osimhen, given Napoli's interest in Kivior? Big up C Unit and Dan. I think they want him on loan, don't they? That's the story. They take him on loan with an option. So I'm not sure they're going to just buy him straight away. But Kivior, I mean,
man who was on my channel the other night, Mo Salah, big up to him, and he said he thinks the most realistic option for Arsenal is Osimhen in January. That's what he sees as the most realistic option if you want a striker. Because obviously the Galatasaray situation happened. I think we could get something done there if it was to be the player that we wanted. The problem I've got, mate, is I just really don't see us getting a striker because I don't think Isak is available. I don't think we want Gyökeres. The player that we keep being linked with is Sesko, and I don't want him, by the way. So I think that there's a problem at that. I think that, Osimhen would be the other option. Maybe there's something we could do. If they want Kivior, then we can just say, look, we'll do a bit of a swap with some money or something. But I don't know. I don't know if that's something we'd be looking at doing. But it's a good shout.
I mean, the thing is, again, I think I said this last time, is that there was obviously this story that Osimhen's agent was at Colney last summer. And again, when we was on tour in the summer, I was going, striker. And they're going, well, who do you think we should sign? I'm going, this guy. And they're going, Osimhen. And they're saying, 100 million, though. They want 100 million. So at 100 million, I kind of understood it because I was like, is he £100 million player? But 65 million, I mean, that's the same what we paid for Havertz. Nobody can tell me that Osimhen is not worth 65 million. Like, with his goal record, he's scoring goals in Turkey at the moment. And the guy you had on the show is probably right, because Gyökeres will probably sit it out until the summer, to be honest, because Barca and other clubs are being linked with him. And Isak, Newcastle are not going to sell Isak in January, so Osimhen would be the easiest one. But it's Arsenal, and they probably won't do it for whatever reason. So I think you're right in that sense. Big C, thoughts on the young winger Quendo? Is that the guy who played against us the other day? Is that the guy who played for Sporting?
Yeah, he's the right winger, isn't he? Or
17.
right wing back. Quenda. I thought he got pretty over. Like Martinelli put him on his arse, didn't he?
Yeah. No, listen, I don't. All that Project Youth business, I don't want nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? If I don't know the guy and I've seen him play, I don't want no little backup 17-year-old from Sporting Lisbon. If we go Sporting Lisbon, buy Gyökeres, you know, that's it. I don't want no one else. But yeah, listen, January is going to be interesting. And I don't know if you've seen, John Cross has put a story out today. I can't stand John Cross, by the way.
Me neither.
Since Wenger left, all his information seems to have gone. He talks about Chelsea all the time now. But he's put a story out today saying that Arsenal actually were not at their maximum in the summer of PSR. So all these people saying PSR, we couldn't spend. He's actually saying in his article that Arsenal were pretty comfortable and they could have actually spent, and that they were willing to buy Sesko or Nico Williams at the end of the window, but they couldn't get either one of them done. Surely the club have to do something in January. If it's not the striker, is it the left winger? But the problem you've got with Arsenal is they seem very intent on getting who they want. So if they want Nico Williams or they want Isak, are they going to compromise themselves and go, well, let's just get Osimhen or let's go and get somebody else? Like, surely an attacking player has to come in January. That's where we're lacking.
I think so. I don't think it will happen though, Curtis. And I think that we want Nico Williams and Sesko in the summer. They both got release clauses. They're easy deals to get done. They both wanted to stay for the following season, and then I think they'll look at their futures in the summer. And I think there'll be two options to go and get. And I think that Nico Williams, Arteta seems set on. I also think that if it's not Sesko, then Isak is a player that if we can get done, we will in the summer. I think they're the three names that we genuinely do have some links with that are quite genuine from what Arteta believes that he wants. I don't think some of the other names that he wants for the January the January winter transfer. I just don't get it. I don't think. Look, the winter window is just January in it for Arsenal. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
Like, nobody seems to get excited about it. If we are linked with, if we get anybody, it will be like because someone's got injured or something like that. That's what I think will happen. Because we can't loan anybody else because we've already loaned Neto and Sterling. So we can't get any more loans because we're like fully loaned. So we'd have to get rid of Neto or Sterling if we wanted to loan another player. So I don't see any loans happening because I can't see either of them going in January. So it'd have to be money spent. Now, it's interesting John Cross believes we've got money because I don't rate him either. I think he's awful stuff he talks about. But I always thought we had money, and I always believed that it was either the Cronkies weren't interested in, allowing that extra bit of money, or if we did have the money, which has now been proven by John Cross that we have, then Arteta didn't want any of the names that were available that window, and he was willing to wait. And it looks now as if that is the case. Now, the problem with Arteta is, when the hell does he want to get this striker then? Because he's had 5 years and he's not bought one yet. So how many other managers do you know that's had 5 years at a club, whether it be their first club or a club that they've managed before? How many managers stay for 5 years and don't buy as number 9? I don't know anyone. I can't tell you one. Because, Wenger in his first year bought about 4, didn't he? Or 5 in his first 5 years. So I just don't believe that he's not bought one. Like how has he gone 5 years without recognising one number 9 better than the midfielder he bought that he now plays up top? Like, that's a worry for me, mate. So I think there's either absolutely Isak or absolutely Sesko that he wants, or we're gonna not see anything in January and wait for a big one. Look, Connor says Kvaratskhelia. That's the one I would love. That's the player I would love on the left. I'd rather have Kvaratskhelia than Nico Williams, and I'd rather have Isak than Sesko. So hopefully we go and get Kvaratskhelia and Isak, but that's going to set us back about 200 million just for both of them. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be very difficult, mate. It really is.
I honestly think if you had a conversation with Arteta about a striker, I think he would say that he's happy with Havertz. I honestly do. Because if you look at the way our strikers have played under him the whole time, he's never really employed any of them as proper number 9s. They've always dropped deep. You know what I mean? Lacazette dropped deep. Jesus does. Havertz does. Trossard does when he goes there. Oba got moved to the left. It doesn't feel to me like he wants a Gyökeres that plays the 18-yard box and just tries to bully centre-backs. So I think he's very comfortable. I think he wanted Sesko as a plan B, which is why Sesko didn't sign, because he wanted to be guaranteed that he was going to start. I think his intention was to get Nico on the left because he clearly doesn't rate Martinelli at the top draw because he wanted Mudryk at 80 million. He wants Nico Williams. You know, they've been linked with Rafinha time and time again. So I think he wanted the left wing upgrade. And I don't think he's as desperate to get Havertz replaced, which is worrying for me because I think he should be. But anyway, here's what it is. Just obviously, this Olabe, you was talking about him in your show as well, right? Me and you spoke about him before, actually, but
yeah,
the story's obviously got a little bit more advanced now. Di Marzio saying Real Sociedad sporting director Roberto Olabe is in advanced talks with Arsenal to replace Edu following his departure. Olabe has already agreed with his current side that he is to leave this summer. We spoke about him before. I mean, to give people context, he's been at Sociedad for years. And he's had loads of contact with Arsenal over the years. With, you know, he took Tierney on loan. He had Odegaard the season before he went to Arsenal. He actually sold Marino to Arsenal in the summer. And he's obviously worked with Isak and Zubimendi. So maybe they might think you get Olabe, maybe you get Isak in the summer, maybe you get Zubimendi. Apparently, he actually signed Mikel Arteta as a player in 2004. So he's known him for 20 years. I don't know how good this guy is. I'll be totally honest with you. I've seen some reports, Sociedad saying he did well for a little while, but they think he had a terrible summer. You know, sold some of their better players, didn't replace them. They're struggling this season compared to last season. I think they're kind of happy to get rid of him. What's your thoughts on him? I mean, like I said, I don't know too much about him other than the little bits and bobs that I've done. He's never really done it at an elite level. Like, no disrespect to Sociedad. They're more of like a Europa League team. Is he going to come in and, you know, get us those top players? Or is it Arteta's known him 20-odd years. He signed me. He knows Marino. He knows Odegaard. Is it more jobs for the boys? I mean, people saying he looks like Rolf Harris.
Oh no! Yeah, we've. Oh no, that's hilarious. Look, I don't know enough about him, Curtis, either. I'll say this: he's definitely an experienced head, and that's what we need at the club. Yeah. Someone who at least can bring a little bit of experience. But for me, when I look at it, what I would be worried about is that he's just going to go and buy the players that he knows. So it's great if we go and get Isak or we go get Zubimendi, let's say. But what happens then? Do we have to wait for a player to come to Sociedad for him to know who he is? Like, how much of his quality is great? Do you know what I mean? So, you know, oh dear. So look, I don't everyone's gone in the chat, but look, I do think that it's I'm laughing now. I do think it would be a fine appointment in terms of experience, and I think we need experience at the club, man. Now, I said on my show earlier, there's only really Richard Garlick who's got a level of experience in the footballing world. Like a football man at Arsenal, quite inexperienced, really. When you look at, you know, the Kroenkes, they're inexperienced in this sport, let alone in you know, in the country of what we do. Yeah. And then you look at the board level, we've got some young people on the board, and we have had the young people on the board. Even Edu was inexperienced when he came. And then now you look at the manager, we just need someone alongside him, because what Arsene Wenger was, when Arsene Wenger was at his best, it was alongside David Dein. When David Dein, we had a period of time where we were trophyless and he was a bit lost. And I do think that there was a massive amount of respect lost with David Dein going. And I think also there was no right-hand man for Wenger to say, whoa, Arsene, don't go down that road. pathway, mate. Like, we've done this before. Let's look here. He was left to full reign the club. And I think Arteta, that is a massive mistake if we let him do that. So, look, Jason Ato at the moment is the interim post for, apparently he was quite key with Edu and some of the people we brought in. But let's just be real. We need someone to stand alongside him and say, Mikel, like maybe it is Olabe. Let's just say, look, Mikel, I've known you since 2004. You've been brilliant. You've definitely made mistakes here. These are the mistakes you've made. Let's not do them again, and I'll help you get them right. If he's the guy to do that, I'm cool with it. If he's the guy, though, to come in and go, Mikel, you're like a son to me. Do what you want. I'll let you crack on. I don't want that. You know, I don't want Thomas Rosicky or Per Mertesacker coming alongside him saying, all right, Mikel used to play with you. You've done a really good job. I want someone to come in and just not be a yes man and say, look, Mikel, you're going down the wrong path here. Let's bring this guy in. Now, look, if Olabe comes in and says, bang, Isak, bang, Zubimendi, here's Frankie de Jong, here's Kvaratskhelia, gets all these players in, then Arsenal are going to be laughing, right? But I don't know if he's going to do that. I can't tell you that he is. There's other names that are being mentioned as well, but they're all at least experienced heads, you know, like if it's Luis Campos, if it's Olabe, if it's the guy, I've forgotten his name now, is it Scuro from Monaco? Sartori from Bologna, all these guys that have been linked, they've all at least done something at their clubs that has been good. Like Bologna have done well up until Thiago Motta left. Obviously, Sociedad have had some good players. You've got Monaco who have come from nowhere and are doing really well at the moment since he's taken over as CEO. So there's definitely people that are doing well at the moment. The Bayer Leverkusen, Simon Rolfs is a definite option as well. He's done well at Bayer Leverkusen. I'm still a fan of, is it Marco Nepe from Bayern Munich, who's the guy who got Kane and Musiala to Bayern Munich. Those are the kind of people that I would look at and go, right, you can replace Edu. What I don't want to do is promote from within and go to Per Mertesacker. Well done, mate. Off you go. Or you then get, you know, Thomas Rosicky because he used to play with you and you like him over. You know, I've got nothing against bringing people back who played for the club. Like if Santi Cazorla come back as a coach, I'll be happy with that. But when you're someone who used to play for the club, I'll have a go at sporting director now. I don't want, you know, otherwise we're going to have Kolo Toure lined up and Gilberto Silva saying, "Oh, have you got a role for me?" Like, no, we want people that are coming that know what they're doing. We don't want someone to come along because they played with an Arsenal shirt on once. So for me, I think Olabe at least has experience in what he's doing. Do I think he'll take us to elite level? I've no idea, mate, because I don't know. Real Madrid Sociedad have never been. I think they've won the La Liga about twice in their history, haven't they, or something? They're not a team that are always up there but delivering trophies. So it's not like they've been successful because of this man. Obviously, the transfers and players they've had, that would be quite a good thing because Marino, Zubimendi, Odegaard, Isak, they're all players that we either would want at Arsenal or are currently at Arsenal. So I think that's a good sign. And that's probably, for me, realistically, why we'd be linked with him over some of the others, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I don't know enough about him to either say whether he's good or bad. At least he's experienced. At least he would probably have a lot of contacts. But my only concern is when you're at Sociedad, you're probably looking for a diamond that you can get for cheap. We're coming to Arsenal. You know, we want star quality, you know what I mean? Rather than maybe the players he's looking for. Let me get in these super chats. Hullman from Sporting is a decent box-to-box. Yeah, he's got a decent reputation. I mean, we dominated the other night, so it's hard for him to impress. Ghost said, I'll take the youngster if they give us Victor Gyökeres. Yeah, I don't mind that. I'll take him under them circumstances. Temi said, Olabe means soup liquor in my native language.
Wow.
Fair enough. There you go. Happy Friday, people. And David said, Curtis and Dan, I've had 8-hour back surgery last week. The recovery so far has been brutal. Can I get a red stripe settings? But seeing you, lad, has me vibing up. Big up, David, man. Safe recovery, bro. Always.
Yeah, big up, man. Big up. Speedy recovery, man.
Yeah, man. Big up.
Tell you what I do like is actually, before you go to that, is that AC Milan midfielder.
Reinders.
That's him. Tijani Reinders, mate. He looks like a decent box of ball player, mate. I like him a lot, man. I like him a lot.
I don't think he's been there long, has he?
Don't think so. No, I don't think so. He's 26, so he has been around. He was at Alkmaar, wasn't he? He's at Alkmaar. And I think he's been playing for Holland in the Euros. I think he played a few matches for them. I like him a lot, man. Tijani Reinders, he's a player. I like him. So let's see if that's someone that we can look at. Because AC Milan, although they're a massive club, they're not quite Inter Milan and Napoli are the two main favourites to win it. So let's see. I mean, he's 6 foot. I'm just looking. He's 6'1". He can play that kind of box to box sort of game. He is a lot more. He's quite good defensively as well, obviously. But he just looks very good on the ball, mate, and I quite like him. And in his kind of younger days, he was a goal scoring midfielder as well. I think he got 19 goals for one of the teams he played for, Jong. I guess they're Jong AZ. I guess they're in the kind of second division equivalent. But 4 goals for AC Milan. But he's more of a kind of box to box. I really like him, mate. That would be a player that I would look at.
He's a very good player. I'm just looking here. Yeah, he's got 3.5 years left on his deal, 2028. But yeah, you're right. AC Milan, they're not financially. I don't think they're in a great position, but that would be an interesting one. I wouldn't mind that. West
Someone
Ham.
that King has put from toe sniffer to soup licker.
Listen, man, it's the Arsenal way, isn't it? Toe sniffer to soup licker. There we go. Listen, man, I don't know what it's all going mad. We've got Win the Dog, you know what I mean, all over shitting all over the training ground. You got a soup licker coming in. You know what it is? I just can't see him coming in and telling Arteta. I feel like he's like Arteta's uncle or something. You know what I mean? Who signed him 20 years ago? He's like, look, I got a job for you, mate. Sasha Dada kicking you out. Don't tell me what to do. Just sit in the office and await instructions. You know what I mean? But we'll see, man. We'll see. It'll be interesting. People saying, get me Zlatan. Yeah, Zlatan. I think he's their sporting director now at AC, or he's one of them, apparently.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, look, thing is, I just want someone who's going to come in and be able to show some experience and actually lead us across. I'll have a plan with our kind of forward thinking, because now Edu has gone, that right-hand man to Arteta, which he was, to be fair, whether you liked him or not, has gone, and we need to get the right replacement in. And I just hope that they do get that. I hope they don't rush it and get someone in that's, a yes man. That's all I worry about. And Arteta, I think, would want a yes man because he's so arrogant and stubborn with his ways that he believes he's doing everything the right way. But sometimes he's made mistakes and he needs some advice and support with that, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I do agree with that. Just looking ahead to the weekend's game, Dan, obviously West Ham. Are you going to that?
No, I'm not going to that one. If I'm honest with you, bro, I can't stand that stadium. It's the worst away day. I absolutely hate it, mate. Oh, it's awful. They stick you right up the top. You can't see anything, and they got that stupid scaffolding dance floor, whatever the hell that is, below you. I just find it a really awful stadium. So I've been a few times, and I just said to my dad, I'm not going to bother. We'll watch it together. So yeah, I won't be doing a watch alongs or anything. I'm just going to go and watch it with my dad. So yeah, looking forward to it though. Massive game because obviously Liverpool City in it as well that weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because before Monday, I thought we roll them easily. Like the manager's on the verge of getting sacked. And I watched them on Monday. I didn't see the whole game, but I saw about 60, 70 minutes. I thought, geez, that's one of the best performances I've seen this season from West Ham. Like Antonio bullying the defenders, Jared Bowen, Paqueta. I thought, typical West Ham put that performance in the week before they play us. And they're going to be fired up for it because even though we paid a ridiculous amount of money for Declan Rice, it's like they hate Arsenal for signing him and they're going to probably boo him as well. I actually think in the end, they did pretty well out of that deal as well because I rate Declan Rice highly, but is he really a 105 million player? I'm not so sure, to be honest, at the moment anyway. How do you view this game? And obviously, like you said, it's Liverpool-Man City this weekend. I mean, Pep's scratching his head, he's scratching his nose, looks like Win the Dogs, attacked him. But we could do with City getting something out of this game. I think, would you say a draw would be the ideal result in that Liverpool City game?
100%, mate. Yeah, the worst result for us is Liverpool to win. I think that we need to somehow peg them back. And I think, look, Manchester City have been so bad, mate. So bad. Defensively, it's been a shambles. Yeah. And I think what's happened to them is the Rodri incident on top of the fact that they have a bunch of 30 to 35-year-olds now that literally can't keep up. And I'm not going to use that as the only excuse because they have got youngsters on there as well. I'm going to look at Pep Guardiola a bit as well, if I'm honest, because I don't think he's got it right. I think he's been quite stubborn. When you're playing Bernardo, Kovacic and Gundogan in midfield, like, let's be real, they're all in their late 30s. It's combined age of about 107, I think. So when they're getting walked past in midfield and he hasn't changed it up yet by trying John Stones in there or at least something like that, you've got Kyle Walker at right back still. 34, he's done, he's dusted. Put Rico Lewis there or Akanji there. Just try something different. I think he's going to have to against Liverpool at Anfield because otherwise they're going to get tanked by 4 or 5. Real talk, the way they're playing. Look, I think Liverpool win the game. I do. But I would take a City win or a draw over that because, you know, look, City draw and we will go ahead of them if we win our game. And then Liverpool will be pegged back a bit. So there'll be 7 points behind them. So that's probably the best scenario. If Liverpool win, then we go ahead of Manchester City and they're out of the title race, in my opinion. So I don't think 11 points, they're catching that, even at this early stage. But then obviously it's just Arsenal and Liverpool then, but we're still 9 points behind them. So I think a draw is the best, bruv, yeah.
I mean, the crazy thing is at the moment, I know nobody's looking at them in the title race, but Chelsea are there. You know, until they're not there, they're still, you know, they're in front of us. I think the scary thing is Man City have been horrendous, yet they're still ahead of us. So it shows how bad we've been at times in terms of we haven't lost as many as them, but draws are almost like defeats, aren't they, in the Premier League when you're trying to win the league? I think my issue here is that if Liverpool beat Man City, which I actually think they will, they're going to be like a steam train. I mean, if you've beaten Real Madrid and Man City inside 5 days, can you imagine the mentality that you're going to have moving forward? I know Robbie was saying the other day, oh, you know, because we beat Lisbon, like we're back kind of thing. But number one, that wasn't in the Premier League. And number two, we've got to make up 9 points plus goal difference on a team that's on fire at the moment. So we're still a long, long way back in the pack. You know, I think we've got to probably win the next 4 or 5 Premier League games to get ourselves back in the reckoning, really. So every game's a real pressure scenario. We've obviously got Man United on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's huge, mate. And it's a massive few days of football for Arsenal Football Club. And, you know, what I liked about Arteta's press conference today was they said, oh, who do you want to win? And his reply was Arsenal. That is absolutely the right way to look at it. Because as much as I will enjoy this game on Sunday, I won't enjoy it if Arsenal haven't won. Definitely. Because it'll be horrible. So Arsenal do their job and we'll be fine and we can relax Sunday and enjoy Liverpool, Man City. Now, I do think that Robbie, and I love Robbie, but let's be real, he does like have the old copium pills and opium pills, and he does have you know, he's one of Arteta's biggest defence lawyers, isn't he? Let's be real. Do you know what I mean? So you have to be realistic about it. Like, I love Rob, but he's always positive about Arsenal. He thinks we'll still win the league. Look, we can still win the league. Of course we can. I don't think we will. I'll just be realistic about it. I didn't think we would anyway, let alone being 9 points off at the top. Manchester City will be put out of it 100% if they lose this game. I just don't think they're going to get past 11 points. Even with Rodri, they'd struggle. But without him, they've got no chance the way they're playing. Arsenal, I think, have still got the advantage of having our players back now. Chelsea, I just don't think without a goalkeeper and a striker of world-class quality that they've got a chance of a title race. But I do think they'll be in the top 4. I think that 4, as we see it there, is what it's going to probably end like, if I'm honest with you. I just don't know what order it'll be in yet. But look, I think that if we want any chance whatsoever, we have to get to the stage where in our next 8 games, which people might laugh at, we have to win them all. And they are winnable, Curtis. They are all winnable. Yeah. You look at the 8 that we've got: Fulham, Everton, Palace, Brentford, Ipswich, West Ham, Manchester United. They're all winnable games. We can't go into any of those believing, oh no, they're beating them. They're far too good. Like, if you're thinking like that, then we are in a top 4 race, not in a title race, because these next games we have to win. And then I was speaking to Canton, and Tom Canton made a good point and said that if we get to New Year's Day and we've beaten Brentford away, which is tough, but I think we could still do it, we'll be 6 points better off than we were last year. So that is really decent, like, place to be in. When you're in that place and you're still 9 points behind Liverpool, that's when you have to take your hats off to Liverpool and say, wow, you've been elite, like unbelievable. And I think they have, Curtis. I don't know why people aren't taking Liverpool more seriously yet, because I always thought they'd be in a title race. Some people had them like 7th and 5th and 6th, and I had them 3rd. I thought they'd be in a title race, but they'd slip off. I didn't think Slot would be this good, but I certainly thought the squad was way too good to be outside of the top 4. I thought that was crazy when people were doing that. But I think he's been phenomenal, mate. Like, I don't even think he's been a little bit good. I think he's been brilliant, and I'll tell you why. I don't look at Liverpool yet and think, wow, scintillating, they're banging. There's going to be 4-5-0 every game. It's scary. I don't look at that yet. But I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a good thing because they're just doing the job. They're just getting comfortable. They're just getting across the line. And he looks so cool, so calm, so relaxed. He don't stress out. He don't worry. Whereas Klopp's running up and down like a madman. The intensity and aggression of the game was always an opportunity to beat Liverpool because of that. But actually, when you look at Slot, it's just like, yeah, job done. Real Madrid, job done. Yeah, Arsenal, we didn't get the job done. But you know what? We had some players out and so did they. We got the job done across the line. We're still top. 9 points clear of them, potential to go 11 points clear of City. I'm quite calm. And I that worries me because I don't think Liverpool have even really got that good yet. And I think 15-20% out of some of these players, he's done that. He hasn't looked at Salah and Van Dijk and Trent and gone, right, how can I get these playing again? Because he knows that they're going to be on there. What he's done is he's gone, right, we haven't got the number 6, but I fancy this Gravenberch in that position. I think he can do a good job. He's got 15-20% out of Gravenberch. He's got Konate back to his best. He's got Van Dijk, Salah and Trent back to their best because he's got 15-20% out of players like Curtis Jones, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo, Darwin Núñez. And all of a sudden, they're starting to look like a proper team now. And I just think I actually think they do look very, very good. And you know, people, they haven't played anyone yet. Man, they've just got an unbelievable fixture list. They've beaten Real Madrid. They've not lost to Arsenal. They've beaten Chelsea. They've got Newcastle. I think it's Newcastle, Fulham and Spurs as their next 3. And the Merseyside derby against Everton. Now, that's a different game for them. I know people will laugh and say Everton are rubbish, but that is a different game for them. It's their last ever Merseyside derby at Goodison Park. To turn up, right? Newcastle are inconsistent. They can beat Arsenal but lose to West Ham, so you never know what you're going to get with them. Fulham and Spurs are a little bit like that as well. But I have to say, I think Slot's done brilliant. And, you know, I know what we're saying is Slot's done a good job, but he's had Klopp's squad. So? Exactly. What? They're still top. It's not like, oh, it doesn't count because it's Klopp's squad. Of course it does. They're top of the league for a reason. They've been good, man. So, yeah, look, I'm hoping that teams can take points off of them. If it's Manchester City, right, let's be real, these 9 points, let's say Manchester City beat them twice and Arsenal beat them, that's 9 points, right? So it ain't as miles off as people say. The reason it's hard is because Arsenal then got to win all the others as well on top of that. That's why it's really difficult. And I don't actually mind Arsenal's performances against top 6 clubs, Curtis. Like, we're pretty good against the big 6. It's bloody Bournemouths and like Fulham's and Hams and these guys that I'm worried about because sometimes we lose our concentration. And the problem with Mikel Arteta over the last few years is we went for the top 4 and we had a cluster of results against Brighton, Palace and Southampton. Then we found ourselves in a title race and we had a cluster of results that went wrong against Liverpool at Anfield, West Ham at London Stadium and then Southampton at home. And then this last season, we had West Ham, Fulham and Liverpool that went wrong and then Villa and Bayern. And already this season, we've had Bournemouth, Newcastle and then the draw against Liverpool, which is on top of the Brighton and City draws. And it's like, why do we have these cluster of results? Is that going to happen again? Because the last time we had a cluster of results last season, we didn't lose a game until Villa in 2024. The problem is we've started the season badly. Now we've got to go on a run. Are we going to go on a run realistically from November right the way through till May? I don't know that we will. I think we're going to have a blip along the way. So, yeah, it's going to be a long way to go. But I really fancy what Liverpool are doing at the moment as being really strong favourites, mate.
I think people use this thing with Liverpool as kind of copium. When you speak about Liverpool, people go, you know, they'll drop points, they'll have a blip. Now, they probably will have a little blip somewhere, but the reality of the situation, they're currently the best team in England, and you could say they're the best team in Europe because they've just pumped Real Madrid at home and made Mbappe just look like nothing, really. And City are going there this weekend, and 99% of fans think Man City are going to get pumped by Liverpool at Anfield. So that tells you everything about them. What it also tells you is that if you recruit players properly, your team can be good for years and years to come because Liverpool have not even spent that much money in the last 2 or 3 years, yet we're sitting here looking at them going, actually, their squad is one of the best in Europe in most areas of the pitch. which shows you don't have to keep pumping hundreds and hundreds of millions in. You got to buy the right players, which is what we've done wrong at times. You know, they bought Salah. Salah's been in their team for, 7-8 years. Van Dijk's still probably, in my opinion, the best centre-back in the world, to be honest. Trent's different class. Alisson's still brilliant. Kelleher's come in. You wouldn't even know Alisson's been injured. And like you said, he's dropped Gravenberch in the 6, probably saved them 50 million because they were going to buy Zubimendi. McAllister's slotted in well. Diaz. Liverpool as a club don't get many big signings wrong. And a lot of that, in my opinion, is down to Michael Edwards, who's been there. He actually left the club and they had to get him back because they couldn't replace him. So it shows how important the sporting director is. And it shows that giving it to a man like Edu, who's never done it successfully, and now he's scratching around, oh, do I get the guy from Sociedad or do I get this guy? Get the very best you can get. That role is almost as important as the manager because he's almost, loading up the players for you to coach. So this is where I think Arsenal have made mistakes over the past, few years. If I was the Kroenkes, people go, yeah, but the Kroenkes have backed Arteta. Yeah, but if you're putting the money in the wrong person's hands, it doesn't matter if you spend $1 billion, it ain't going to work. You've got to give the money to the right person to get the right players. We've spent money on players that should have been nowhere near the football club. So for me, Liverpool, honestly, Liverpool at the moment are probably favourites to win the Premier League and the Champions League. I'll be honest. I think over 2 legs, they'd beat any team in Europe, especially at Anfield. So I think we as a club need to learn from them because they haven't gone the Man City route. They've spent money, in a smart way and kept players there for a long time. So, yeah, but listen, 9 points can be overturned, but somebody's got to beat them at some stage because if they beat Man City, they're going to go on an easier run than what they've just had. They battered Leverkusen as well. I think was that 4-1 or 4-0. So, but yeah, listen, we've got to beat West Ham and then hope. The thing I'm sort of clinging to for this weekend is surely Pep's got to find an answer at some stage. You're meant to be the GOAT. Some people say you're the greatest manager of all time. Whether you agree with that, might be Ferguson, might be whoever, but he looks like he has no answer at the moment. And I almost think he's built a squad that was you're going to keep the ball, 80% possession, Haaland will score, and that's how you win the game. But De Bruyne's not looking sharp. Foden arguably is having the worst PFA Player of the Year defense we've ever seen in the Premier League. I've never seen a guy win PFA Player of the Year and then be this bad the season after. And I think they've made poor signings as well. I don't think Kovacic, Doku, Nunes. I still don't believe that Jack Grealish has justified £100 million. Rico Lewis probably isn't at the level that he should be because he's continued to play Walker rather than allowing him to develop. So I'm actually glad that this is happening to Man City.
Mate, I am absolutely over the moon that it's happening. I mean, without being too cruel to the Man City fan base,
there ain't many of them, Dan, anyway. So.
Well, there ain't many of them, bruv. Yeah, there's not many real ones, Dan. But I just think hold that because we've had this pain for years and they haven't had it for about 9 years. They've been on top with the best manager ever and the best squad ever. But you're right about the player recruitment, by the way, because I tell you some players that would walk into this team right now. Cole Palmer, Morgan Rogers, Lavia, Liam Delap, Jadon Sancho. What Douglas have they all Douglas Luiz. They were all at Man City. All Man City players. And they might not get starters. I mean, Lavia's not starting when Rodri's back, but he'd be starting right now. Cole Palmer's better than Savio and Mahrez, replacement. What do you mean? Up top, Liam Delap would be cover for Haaland. They've got no one right now. Jadon Sancho would be playing ahead of Doku and Grealish. Morgan Rogers would be balling out in the middle. And he'd definitely get Pedro Porro is another shout. So I look at it and I think, wow, they've really, really dropped the ball here, And I'm not saying that, wow, Man City, 4-peat and treble winners, what are they doing? They're clueless. But it hasn't been a good summer and it hasn't been a good season for them so far. And I think they're the biggest. If you ever need an example of when an era comes to an end, it's Manchester City's squad right now because it needs freshening up. And I don't think they've got the signings correct. Because if Haaland don't score, Nobody does. They have to rely on a screamer from Gvardiol. I think Kovacic has got the most goals other than Haaland. Like, they've spent 100 million on Grealish and it ain't worked on the left. They spent ridiculous money on Doku, and I don't rate him. And then they're playing Núñez for 7 million on the wing now. Like, it's because the other two can't play there. That is a lot of money to try and get a left winger in, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they could have just gone and got Kvaratskhelia for cheaper than all three of them together. They've tried to get midfield options as well, by the way, but they ain't worked. Kovacic and Núñez was like 50 odd million, weren't he, or something mad like that. It just hasn't worked. And they've ended up bringing Gundogan back, who, let's be real, is a top talent, but 34, his legs are gone. I mean, they're just walking past him, now. So, mate, it ain't good. And they've tried to get back up for Rodri. Calvin Phillips is now playing for Ipswich Town. Let's be real, they ain't managed to do much in the recruitment department well for a while now. And Foden, let me just touch on him. I can't believe what I'm seeing. Like, this is a player I rate, by the way. But I think when we looked at the comparison and people were like, well, the Saka and Foden and Palmer debate, that's been put in the bin. I would argue that Saka and Palmer are outperforming Foden at the moment, because what they're doing is they're not just delivering, they're delivering on their own, surrounded by a team that's nowhere near as good as Manchester City's players. So when you look at what Foden is doing and was doing, it was around Rodri and De Bruyne and Haaland. All of a sudden, he starts looking brilliant. Saka has been delivering for 4 years around players that were awful. Palmer, to be fair to him, I know this season Chelsea have got better, but last season he got 30-odd GA surrounded by awful players in an awful system. So I would argue that Palmer and Saka have got more talent than Foden. And that might be a real hard thing for City fans to hear. And maybe some people in the chat think I'm talking nonsense, but I just think they've been delivering no matter what their surroundings are, Palmer and Saka. Foden is not getting in the England squad for me right now. I wouldn't be picking him in the first team. He's getting a squad, but I wouldn't be picking him in the first team. I wouldn't be. I would be playing Bellingham, Palmer, Saka, and probably Gordon on the left, all ahead of Foden, which is mad.
I think with Foden, he's been sort of, in Pep's arms like a baby, and then when he comes out of that system, it's like, oh my God, what do I do? We watch him for England; he's absolute garbage. He's like he can't figure out how to play without tiki taka. So for me, I'm putting Saka and Palmer ahead of him. He is a talented player, no doubt, but he looks like he can't take that responsibility when it falls on his shoulders. But the only thing I will say with City, if Pep stays there, is that they will try and fix it in the summer. I don't think Pep's. I would expect Walker and Silva and them guys to be gotten rid of in the summer. So if they have a bad year, I think they will address it pretty quickly. Where, Arsenal, we're not as quick sometimes. But listen, I suppose with Arsenal, it's putting a run together now. The last two games has kind of made me question why we've played the way we've played earlier in the season. Is it because of Odegaard? It's crazy, isn't it, that Man City are playing bad, everyone's going Rodri. It's Rodri not being in the team. When Arsenal started dropping points, it's Odegaard. And you think to yourself, you build these squads for 800-900 million, whatever, and one player comes out and the system collapses, and you think, well, why do you not just have somebody that can come in and do the job that he did? Do you think we're that reliant on Odegaard that we're not the same team when he's not playing?
I think that we are reliant on Odegaard in the 10. The problem we've got is it goes back to the summer. If you don't have a player to back him up, that's a problem for you. I mean, I think Ethan Nwaneri has been unbelievable, but if he doesn't trust him, then there's no point. And if he is doing what he's done, which is Odegaard's out, can't play Nwaneri there, have to change the system and lump balls into the box, then that's a worry for me from a management point of view. If you can't tell, I think he has realised that Nwaneri is actually good enough now. Starting to bring him on. I think it's been I said this, excuse the pun, it's been a light bulb moment for Arteta. He likes light bulb. He's had a light bulb moment where he's realised perhaps Ethan could do a lot more than he perhaps give him credit for. And I think next time, if it was to get a knock to Odegaard, Ethan would play a lot more. The other thing I'll say is I actually do think that some of it was also down to the opposition that we had as well. So I don't think it was just Odegaard being out, because when we had Odegaard, we played this way against Aston Villa and we played this way against Spurs. Do you remember we were playing in a way that we were just getting across the line? Yeah. And then he kind of continued that against Manchester City and Atalanta away. Inter Milan, it was becoming a bit of a nightmare then from some of the games. And I thought, right, our style's completely gone here. We're basically creative midfielder just whacking the ball into the box and hoping someone gets their head on it. That is not what we want to be seeing. So I think he's changed it. I think some of that is Odegaard, but I also think it's the opposition. Now that we've got this run of fixtures, I expect us to win a majority of them, if not all of them. And I think if we take the shackles off like he did against Forest and Sporting Lisbon and allow our creativity to do the business, I think we will start scoring goals. And look, I said that we didn't miss Havertz against Forest. I thought we were a lot more free-flowing. I think I got kind of proven that you can still be free-flowing with Havertz in the side, because against Sporting Lisbon we were as well. So that's what I kind of hope, to be honest. And that continues against West Ham, bro. That's what we need.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to begin to wrap up. Big up to everyone locked in, man. There's nearly 2,000 of you tuned in. Let's get 1,000 likes. Make sure you go and subscribe to Dan's channel, Football's 12th Man. It's in the title. Go and support him. He's approaching 30K. He's putting out loads of content as well. Halcyon said, big up. If we win 8 out of the next 10 games without losing, I think we'll be back in contention. Tough ask, but possible. Yeah, definitely possible, but it is difficult. And Aidan said 6 years ago today, Saka made his first team debut. Do you know what? Saka for me, and I've been a bit like at times probably not giving him the credit that he deserves, but I think Saka is becoming an absolute, like, he's becoming a world star, Saka is. And when you look at it, you think 23 years of age, just handles his business, you know, hardly ever injured. And he produces time after time after time. And I think sometimes I used to get caught up in saying, like, yeah, but he's not as exciting as some of the wingers that we've had in the past. He's more efficient, I think. He's not Alexis Sanchez where you're desperate to watch him. But every time you watch him, you think, wow, he got another assist. He got another goal. He put 5 great crosses in. He's a different kind of winger to what we've been used to at Arsenal. But I think him and Odegaard in particular, I know we focus on the defence and we know Saliba, Gabriel are outstanding and Raya's been great and Timber looks great. But I think Saka and Odegaard are instrumental to this team. And when you think one's come through the youth system and one costs 35 million, you'd probably want 100 million plus for both of them now, really, when you think, not that we want to sell them, but I think it is credit to Arsenal what they've done with those two. What you need really is the left winger and the striker to sort of reflect what you've got going on with them. And then we'd probably have a title-winning team. But Odegaard and Saka have become so good, haven't they? In particular, Saka, just because he's come through those difficult times of Aubameyang going and coming out the youth team and the club was in disarray. I think Saka's biggest sort of attribute really is his mentality, really.
Look, I love him. I love the kid. He's my favourite player. And people talk about him being, you know, a top talent and he's quite a half-decent player and rival fans, they don't want to give him the credit. I think he's one of the most disrespected players in the Premier League, if I'm honest with you. I think the amount of times I see so many comments like, oh, where was Saka in this game? And it's like, well, the whole team have had a bad game or something. And it's like, it weren't them 10, it was him. It was Saka, you know, and then we'll come off limping off. Oh, it's because they lost, they're limping off. So quick to get at him. Look, Cole Palmer in this season, I said, let's see what he's like. Because I rate Cole Palmer highly, by the way. I think he's really good, right? The reason I said wait this season is because he was phenomenal last year, but that's because no one really knew what he was about. Now he's got 2 people kicking him. Now he's got 2 people man marking him. And now he's got people not letting him give him time on the ball. He struggled in some of the big games, Cole Palmer. Yeah. Whereas last season he was delivering, right? Because no one really knew what he was about. Saka is still delivering in big games. You cannot deny that he does not deliver in big games. There might be moments where he has a quiet game, but let's be real. He scored against pretty much every single team in the Premier League. I think there was a stat that said he's actually got a goal now pretty much every single time that he has, every single team, that's in the top half. I think Saka's scored against over the last 3 or 4 seasons. So he turns up in every game, not just big games. When I look at Saka, I think, oh, he had that good a game today. And I look at this, I think, bloody hell, he scored and got an assist. I don't even pay that. Yeah. And that's what you mean. Like, someone says we need a moments player. I agree with that. Saka is kind of that, though. And I look at what he does, and his output is just unbelievable. His goals and assists are phenomenal. And this kid has been carrying Arsenal since the age of 18 years old, by the way. And he's now only 23 years old. And he can still go to another level. I think the kid is phenomenal. I don't think he's spoken about enough. I think he's disrespected. And you know what? the biggest compliment that rival fans give him without knowing they're giving it to him, is he's better than Saka. He's better than Saka. He's better than Saka. Oh, right, so Saka's the benchmark. No, well, what the hell are you comparing everyone to Saka for then? Because you say Palmer's better than Saka. West Ham fans will say Kudus is better than Saka. Liverpool fans will say Salah's better than Saka, which I actually agree with. But then you'll have Man United fans and you'll have Tottenham fans. I mean, one stage, Tottenham fans trying to compare Kulusevski with Saka.
No.
You know what I mean, all of these players, who, by the way, is a brilliant number 10 now, we've realised, not a winger.
Yeah.
So when I look at it, I just think, keep shouting down Saka. Keep telling everyone's better than him. If you want me to say it, I'll say Saka's the 12th best attacking winger in the league if you want. If that makes you happy, all good, because he is delivering. And all of you are jealous of him and you absolutely love him. He must be the benchmark because everybody is saying he's better than Saka, he's better than Saka, he's better than Saka. They're not saying he's better than Salah. They're not saying he's better than Vinny Jr. They're not saying he's better than... Do you know what I mean? It's Saka. So why? Must be the benchmark, man. So I think the guy's ridiculous. He's better when the guy's on the pitch as well because the pair of them have brilliant telepathy. I just think the guy is phenomenal and he's delivering every week, bro. Every single game he has, it's a goal or assist or he creates something. And that's what you need. We need to keep him. And I said on the show the other day, I was asked a question, who's the most important player and who's the most valued player? And I think the most important player is actually Saliba. A lot of people think it's Odegaard because of recent evidence, right? But I think we saw what happened when Saliba went. It was a disaster. And we haven't got any right centre-back cover, right? But Saka is the most valuable player. Saka is the most valued. He's our star boy. He's the one that if he went would be a serious riot in the fan base. You know, I think I've kind of come to accept that Saliba's going to go Real Madrid one day, right? But I haven't accepted Saka leaving yet. It would be really painful if he went. If he did go, he'd get us the most money out of everyone. I think he'd get us 150 to 200 million type. So that's why he's the most valuable player. So yeah, man, I love the kid, and I think both of them have got to stay fit now because I'm a big fan, man. Big fan.
Yeah, he definitely deserves his flowers. And like you said, everyone uses him as the benchmark, but every year he produces. I mean, he's got more goal contribution than games this season. 12 GA in 11 games. I mean, he's doing his thing, man. Aiden said Saka saved this club. I mean, Saka, Smith Rowe, them guys when Arteta was under the cosh, man, they probably did save his job. I'm gonna round up now, Dan. Just I mean, we'll do a show next week, but the next two games, just give me your predictions quickly and your thoughts. Obviously, West Ham away tomorrow and then Man United at home on Wednesday. 6
points, mate, because we must. And I'll tell you why we must. I look at the West Ham game at Monday and I think that although they won, they weren't great. Lopetegui's been a disaster. In my opinion, we comfortably win this game. I've gone for a 3-1 win. I think that we'll have too much from on our right-hand side will deliver again. Then we take on Manchester United at the Emirates Wednesday night. I don't think Manchester United look anywhere near good enough at the moment to get any form of European football. Now, that could change under Amorim in the next few weeks, but luckily, I think we're playing them at an okay time. Some people think, it's awful, I'd rather have Ten Hag. I'd like that as well, but he's gone, right? He was never going to stay this long in the way he was playing. Ruben Amorim is definitely a good manager. I like him. But I don't think he has the tools. I just think the team is poor. They have nothing up top. They've spent 100 million on Xerxes and Højlund, and they're playing Rashford up top now. This is how bad it's got. They've got Garnacho, who's not good enough. Amad Diallo is probably their only attacker. I don't see where the goals come from. Their midfield looks still a little bit unbalanced. Their defence at 3 at the back, I'm not quite sure that's going to work yet. So I think they need to be beating this team. And okay, it's Arsenal United. It can be a bit different for us because we've been probably their closest rivals for the best part of 3 decades now, right? Man United and Arsenal have got this hatred against each other. So it is quite a different game for both teams. But I think we win this game quite comfortably. And I'm going to go for a 2-0 win against Manchester United. And I'm going to go for a 3-1 against West Ham. I'm quietly confident the way we're playing.
No, I like that confidence. And I'm glad. And after the last 2 games, we should have that confidence. Do you know what? Honestly, without being disrespectful, tomorrow might be a more difficult game than Man United, in my opinion. I would think 5:30 at West Ham with the Declan Rice thing and the fact they've just won. I think they'll just pump it up to Antonio and try and ruffle us a bit. United, for me, I mean, I don't want to talk about them too much, but I actually think Amorim is a decent manager, but I think their team's poor. They've got a few good individuals, but like you said, their balance just isn't there. And I think we could pull United apart on Wednesday, to be honest. even the new manager bounce. I just don't think their defense is good enough. And I think we'll probably do them by a couple goals as well. So, yeah, it has to be 6 points. Anything less is a disaster, especially if Liverpool win. So, yeah, I would expect back-to-back wins there from Arsenal. Before we round up, you got anything going on today? You want to promote any shows you're doing?
Yeah, big up, man. I have got one at 5 p.m. actually. I'm going to be doing a bit of a weekend preview with a few Liverpool fans, City fans, and talk on the games this weekend, a big game. So please head over to Football's 12th, man. Big up for having me on, Curtis, and I have to get you on again next week, bro.
Yeah, man, we'll do something at the end of next week after the United game. Big up to everyone locked in. Still nearly 2,000 of you. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to Dan, Football's 12th, man. He'll be on at 5 o'clock. And I'll be back tomorrow for the watch-along, people. Take care, everyone. Bless.